Because fortunately our men are strong, militant, willing to fight, and will not surrender nor will they lay down the battle.
It's one of America's greatest mysteries. Its origins right here in Metro Detroit. Money, power, and politics turned into manipulation, the mob, and murder. James R. Hoffa disappeared a half-century ago. One of the most powerful, most recognizable figures in America vanished. While the mystery endures into what happened to him, his story begins long before he reached the parking lot of the Macus Red Fox. The stunning story of the summer of '75 began with a buildup, decades in the making.
They have received to date the highest single wage of any worker in America out of their fight.
Jimmy-Hoffa was kind of a force of nature.
It's something that really kind of caught all of our imagination.
He was such a large figure. Everybody knew about Jimmy-Hoffa.
He grabbed the spotlight. He loved it.
But where is he? And where is the FBI?
At the present time, we have no information as to the present whereabouts of Mr. Hoffa.
When he disappeared, everybody was stunned.
We have faith that someone, somehow, somewhere can help us locate our father.
It's a mystery, and it'll be solved.
It's one of the major mysteries, I think, in the world of news, which was never solved.
Where is Jimmy-Hoffa? That's the real question, I think, that continues to fascinate people.
He was 5 feet 5 inches tall with a colossal persona.
Because fortunately our men are strong, militant, willing to fight, and will not surrender nor will they lay down the battle.
The legendary labor leader, unrestrained by law, unafraid of lawmakers, and undaunted by death.
No violent action will take place against me.
His hair slicked back and his palms greased, he walked with the swagger of a gangster, which is exactly the company he kept.
We're exempting everyone but racketeers and hoodlums and crooks.
I would like to have you draft that language, sir.
I'm not talking necessarily about you. I'm talking about the people you've surrounded yourself with.
His position as union president outsized only by his ego.
And I don't compromise to nobody in my position.
He is the centerpiece of the continuing conundrum of the 20th century. What happened to Jimmy-Hoffa? The case perplexing law enforcement and puzzling the public. How could this happen? Who did it? First, we have to look back into what made Jimmy-Hoffa one of the most powerful figures and recognizable faces in America. He had moved to Detroit as a kid and got a job at Kroger to support his family.
They were moving strawberries off a dock. He felt like the working conditions were unfair. He convinced all the adults around him to kind of let those strawberries sit out on the dock, do a work slowdown, and the management caved to their demands.
He began his career with the Teamsters in 1933, a union representing a broad range of workers with blue collars and white collars, craving a leader who'd give them the shirt off their back. He joined a local in Detroit, eventually rising to become president in 1957. He opened his mouth and stuck out his neck, pouring his heart into his passion, the American worker. Under his leadership, membership exploded, growing from 75,000 in 1933 to more than 2 million in 1967. The pension fund amassing mountains of money, he turned it into a bank for the mob.
Super low-cost loans when Las Vegas was getting built, things like that.
His connections drawing the attention of the feds.
I don't think that he belongs as head of the International Brotherhood of Teamsters. I think that is a national disgrace.
His feud with John and Bobby Kennedy, legendary.
It is another propagandized vehicle for Robert Kennedy to try to put through in the United States a wiretap bill.
Hoffa frequently testifying and frequently testy.
There's no question about Mr. Goldblatt, although there can be a question about Mr. Hoffa. There's no question about Mr. Goldblatt.
Oh, wait a minute, just a moment. Don't say anything about a question about Hoffa. There is no question about Hoffa, and don't you say that either. Don't you say that I'm a communist or even affiliated with one. You said that enough around this country, and I want the American press to know that I resent the fact that there is any inference that I'm a communist, that I'm associated with or controlled by communists, and don't use this as a sounding board for headlines for that purpose. And I appeal to the chair that that be taken out of the record and that nobody cast any aspersions on my loyalty to this country.
Finally, in 1964, the law caught up with him. The feds convicting him of fraud, jury tampering, and conspiracy. The verdict upsetting the members who appreciated all that he'd done for them.
How do you feel about Jimmy getting convicted?
Well, I think that he got railroaded. He has done wonders for the truck drivers and all
members of the Teamsters locals.
He's done more good for us than he's done bad.
He went to prison in '67, a sentence of 13 years, later commuted by the president.
James Hoffa, released from prison on parole by President Nixon.
When he got out, he was determined to reclaim what he felt was his rightful role as president of the Teamsters. But under the terms of his commutation, that wasn't allowed. But that didn't stop Hoffa. He sued. He publicly ripped the sitting head of the Teamsters, threatening to out him for connections to the mob.
When asked if he would like once again to become president of the Teamsters, he said carefully, any man who wouldn't want to be president of the Teamsters would have to be a fool or an idiot. Bill Applegate, TV2 Eyewitness News at the Federal Building.
In his mind, he was untouchable. Too important to go away, too brash to silence, and too tough to kill.
Hoffa felt kind of invincible. He felt like nothing bad was going to happen to him in his hometown.
While he tried to stay a step ahead of the law, he couldn't outrun his fate. Teamsters members were set to vote on their next president in the fall of '75. The mob didn't want him. Union leadership didn't want him. He wanted to run as a write-in, and it was feared that members would put him back in charge.
My restrictions are removed. I would leave it up to the membership to determine whether or not they wanted James R. Hoffa to be the president of the International Union.
On July 30th, 1975, he agreed to meet Tony Giacalone, Tony Jack as he was known, at the Macus Red Fox in Bluefield Township. Tony and his brother Billy Giacalone were intermediaries with the mob in New York who had soured on Hoffa.
Tony Jack had been trying to arrange a meeting with Hoffa for a long time. He wanted him to meet another guy out of New Jersey, Tony Provenzano. Hoffa didn't want to meet him.
But he agreed to meet Tony Jack. He knew him. He trusted him. But Giacalone didn't show on time. And then, at 3 o'clock, another car with 3 people inside pulled up, and Jimmy got in.
After Jimmy-Hoffa drives away in the burgundy Mercury Marquis, everything after that is a theory.
They said, we're changing your story. Jimmy-Hoffa is missing. And my team and I were, what?
When we come back, as the stunning news spread, a media frenzy exploded. It had the public and the feds literally digging for clues. That's coming up.
To get to the bottom of this one way or the other. You can be assured of that.
Jimmy-Hoffa kept his friends close and his enemies closer, his words likely spelling out his demise. And the prevailing theory, he wouldn't stay quiet, so the mob silenced him. What we know is a car pulled up, a door opened, Hoffa got in. They drove away, and it's where the trail of Hoffa ends, and one of America's greatest mysteries begins.
James R. Hoffa, the mysterious trail ends abruptly here.
But the next morning, the Hoffa children had arrived at the home, and at 6:30 that night, a missing person report on James Hoffa was filed. Within the hour, a horde of reporters, photographers, police, and curious onlookers descended on the quiet Lake Orion home.
He was such a famous and strong figure. It would not be easy to just kidnap somebody like that. He was fierce.
My father, James R. Hoffa, has been missing for some 32 hours.
How could this happen? And the police at first were, we're going to find out who did this. It won't take us too long. And then that dragged on and on.
News of Hoffa's disappearance quickly spread.
It was huge. It was an international case.
It was a big story.
It was this kind of unique, sexy appeal that the average American just ate it up.
At first, shock. Then reporters gathered outside the Hoffa home in Lake Orion, waiting for any update they could get. But it wasn't much.
I would like to make this plea to the public and to everybody who might be listening to this broadcast. Anyone who might have seen my father, James R. Hoffa, in the vicinity of the Max's Red Fox restaurant or the 15-mile road Telegraph area anytime on Wednesday, July 30, 1975, should contact the Bloomfield Police Department.
That was quite a scene, too. There were reporters from every media outlet locally, through the state, and they were coming in from around the country, around the world.
When the FBI picked up the case, it took it to another level. The disappearance of Jimmy-Hoffa, which started at the corner of Telegraph and Maple. exploding into an international story.
The large-scale effort to find the missing union boss began here at his home. This is where young Jim-Hoffa came outside during the first few days to keep us posted. This is where he announced the $200,000 reward for finding his dad. It's also where he announced the Where's Jimmy-Hoffa bumper sticker campaign here.
We're going to get to the bottom of this one way or the other. You can be assured of that.
It's been some 12 days since Mr. Hoffa has disappeared. The FBI has been engaged in this investigation for 1 week.
Meanwhile, even with the FBI devoting massive amounts of resources, they had next to nothing.
I am of the opinion that we have made substantial progress in this case, and I remain optimistic that eventually we will reach a successful conclusion.
With news of the reward spreading, many people turned into treasure hunters, but digging for clues left nothing but holes in a murder mystery.
The presence of the investigators drew out the amateur sleuths, who used shovels, sticks, and even spoons to search for Hoffa's body. Once again, their motivation was probably the reward money, although some of them said there were other reasons. What are you doing out here?
Looking for adventure, I guess.
And money?
Yeah.
You really think you're going to find it?
I doubt it. They'll probably get it police will probably get it before I do.
The depth of a couple of the holes you guys have been digging is unbelievable.
Yeah, that one's about 7 foot deep, I guess. Pretty deep.
Why the devil did you go that far down?
I don't know. We just kept digging. It was getting exciting as we got down deeper.
Are you really anxious to find Jimmy Hoffa's body?
Oh, yeah. The money kind of excites me.
Now it's quiet at the Hoffa house, here where the FBI began its investigation. The command post is gone. So is the man who used to play in the yard with his grandchildren. But where is he? Tips on where to find Hoffa or his body came from every corner of the country. Temptation to phone in a Hoffa tip grew as the reward money grew to $325,000. Among the suggested methods of finding Hoffa were ESP, body reading, astrological charts, radionics, mysticism, and witchcraft.
Adding an even greater level of intrigue to the case was the focus on organized crime.
You got to remember, The Godfather had just come out, so there was kind of this infatuation with organized crime in this country, right? It was kind of being romanticized.
The Marcus Red Fox was your classic gangster hangout. It's what you picture in the movies. It was dark, there was red leather in there was, polished wood, there were a lot of kind of nooks and crannies.
Of all the theories about why Jimmy Hoffa vanished, those most often heard blame organized crime. The underworld might have killed Hoffa because he was obsessed with regaining control of the Teamsters. Hoffa reportedly said he would put an end to mobster use of union pension funds when he was back in charge.
With law enforcement and the public literally digging for clues, the hope to find him soon disappeared.
This late date, after the time that's gone by, I think that it's clear that my father has been assassinated and that we're probably never going to see him again.
The FBI, once confident they'd find Hoffa, suddenly didn't sound too sure.
When, in your opinion, might the investigation near an end?
I simply don't know, and I couldn't put a time element on it.
For many members of the media, this was the biggest story of their careers. But after a while, there wasn't much to report.
There were no cell phones to keep up on things, so we'd go to the car and try to call in and find out what we could, and usually there was nothing.
The investigation began zeroing in on key figures of the mob. Subpoenas would soon come, testimony would follow, but answers as elusive as Hoffa himself.
I question whether we will ever find out the truth about what happened to Jimmy Hoffa.
We'll all stay with this story. It is certainly not over yet, and someday we may have the answers.
Straight ahead, the investigation.
Excuse me, any reaction to the court decision? I don't think we're going to do anything at this time. Excuse me, you don't have to shove me around.
The mystery of the disappearance of Jimmy Hoffa shines a light on the shadowy world of the mob. That's coming up.
There is, of course, a great deal of difference between knowing something and being able to prove it.
As the feds dug for Jimmy Hoffa, the mob dug in. The motive to eliminate him wasn't personal. It was strictly business, defiant in silence, persuaded by power. The story that stunned America seemed to have an obvious answer, the mob, but nobody could prove it.
It was here at this Bloomfield Township restaurant when Hoffa was last seen on a July day in 1975.
Hoffa telling family members he was going to have lunch with Provenzano and another man.
Tony Provenzano, a Teamster boss once at odds with Hoffa, and Tony Giacalone, reputed Detroit mobster. Both men were said to have planned a reconciliation meeting with Hoffa.
The investigation into Jimmy-Hoffa's disappearance focuses on several key members of the mob, mostly Tony Provenzano and Tony Giacalone. They, like many mob members, had their hands in the Teamsters pension fund. Provenzano was from the Genovese family, the crime family in New Jersey, who did not want Hoffa back in charge of the union. Hoffa told people he was going to meet the two men at the Macus Red Fox to smooth over their differences. It's believed that the car Hoffa hopped into that day was owned by Joseph Giacalone, Tony Jack's son. The feds, after getting a warrant, searched the car.
We did not detect any presence of human blood stains either in the vehicle or in the trunk of this car.
Excuse me, any reaction to the court decision this morning?
I don't think we're going to say anything at this time.
Excuse me, you don't have to shove me around. I just wanted to get your reaction to the court ruling this morning.
Of course, we're disappointed in losing.
Joey, tell me what you're doing for a car these days.
What seemed like a major lead led to more mystery and more questions, but no answers.
The grand jury today continued gathering testimony on the missing ex-Teamsters boss Jimmy Hoffa, and from all indications, those people questioned still maintain their innocence.
Still another theory, and the most popular one, is that Hoffa was set to meet with a friend, Anthony Giacalone, who supposedly arranged a meeting between Hoffa and Anthony Provenzano so the two could patch up their friendship, a friendship that had fallen apart when both were in prison. Provenzano served time for extortion. That also cost him his job and his pension from the New Jersey Teamsters. Right now he is under indictment for murder. Supposedly, the meeting was never really arranged, but was a setup.
Giacalone and Provenzano denied having scheduled any meeting with Hoffa. It's also believed that they weren't near the restaurant on the afternoon of July 30th. So, who pulled up in that car? No one can say for sure. But somebody made Hoffa an offer he couldn't refuse. And whomever did, refused to tell.
Organized crime of 1960s, 1970s was different than what it is today. I mean, they still live by the code of omerta, the code of silence, and that was the oath that they took. And so organized crime members of that generation were not going to talk, right? They took it to the grave. And that's what I think happened here. They took it to the grave.
When that car showed up, eyewitnesses tell us that Hoffa just jumped in. You know, he got in willingly. He wouldn't have gotten into a car that he didn't know anybody in. So obviously he knew these folks.
The case continuing to mystify, but not satisfy. The search never led to a body. The investigation never led to a suspect. One by one, mob members went under oath, and one by one, they took the fifth. Witnesses came forward, only adding confusion to the case. And while the FBI fought and failed to get answers, so did the media.
The son of the missing former Teamster leader, James P. Hoffa, confirmed to me that Gallagher told him about the eyewitness. But Hoffa says the FBI did everything it could. If she had been a strong witness, I'm sure they would have used her information. I called the Lansing State Journal to talk to Mike Gallagher about his story, but I was told he's not available until this evening. His editor did tell me that the paper stands by the story and that it was carefully researched.
So the mystery which has shrouded this case for 11 years continues to hold its secrets. The story of a secret witness protected till now by the FBI has only served to create more questions and answers none.
As I'm watching it, I'm remembering more and more and more about that story, and I could see a little bit of frustration in me. I wanted to get to the bottom of that so bad. I had that little newspaper. I'm like, I'm going to get to that guy. I was very determined to cover every opportunity, every base that I could, for sure, because, I mean, it was such a big story. And the more time I spent with it, you know, you just kind of hope that we're going to resolve this, we're going to get to the bottom of this. And it was frustrating because it couldn't.
After years of nothing, the family continued to fight for closure.
Now, after 7 years, Hoffa's family can petition the probate court here at the Oakland County Courthouse to have Jimmy Hoffa finally presumed legally dead. The petition will allow Hoffa's heirs to divide his $1 million estate. So family members have reached a new, more conclusive stage in the case of Jimmy Hoffa. The FBI, meanwhile, continues to narrow its list of suspects.
I think that at this point in the investigation, we have a pretty good idea. We believe we know who did it. There is, of course, a great deal of difference between knowing something and being able to prove it.
The Teamster members, the more than 2 million members, and I think I can speak for them in this, with regard to this, are very, very concerned about what happened to my father. Not only what happened to him, but why it happened. And they demand an answer. There has to be an answer to this union as to what happened to Jimmy-Hoffa, and I think that there will be.
When we come back, one of history's hottest cases goes cold. The theories into what happened to Jimmy-Hoffa and where he is stretches far beyond the boundaries of Metro Detroit. That's coming up.
I don't compromise to nobody in my position.
He is the search for Jimmy-Hoffa continues to this day. Every theory tries to answer the central question: what happened to Jimmy-Hoffa? The evidence vanishing along with the former union leader. The case involving the shadowy figures of the underworld and the high-profile man in the spotlight. Jimmy-Hoffa is long dead, but this case is still very much alive.
It's still an open investigation.
The search for Jimmy-Hoffa is not officially over.
Obviously, some people were not being forthcoming at the time. We're not being as honest with law enforcement as they should have been.
One theory that has never had a motive tries to explain Hoffa's disappearance without the slightest trace. It supposes that Hoffa met someone he trusted, was killed, and his body shipped to New Jersey in a barrel. The barrel was buried in Brother Moscato's dump on the shore of the Hackensack River.
Over the years, tips, many of them far-fetched, leading to searches far and wide.
Another local theory is that Jimmy-Hoffa ended up in the foundation of the Renaissance Center someplace. The Renaissance Center was being built at that time, and they were pouring footings a few weeks after July 30th. After those theories, you get a little farther afield.
There was an urban legend that he was shipped to New Jersey and buried under the end zone of the Giants Stadium, which was being built at the time.
There have been a lot of other theories, but most are easily disproved or simply ridiculous.
In 2004, based on a tip from mob hitman Frank Sheeran, the FBI was at it again. Sheeran is the focal point of the book I Heard You Paint Houses and the movie The Irishman. He says he murdered Hoffa in a home on Detroit's west side. Investigators searched and found blood, but it wasn't Hoffa's.
We're in metropolitan Detroit. Everybody has a story of someone's farm field getting dug up looking for Jimmy-Hoffa.
In 2006, the feds spent 2 weeks digging up a farm in Milford. They found a lot of dirt, but no Hoffa. Same thing in 2012 under a driveway in Roseville and in Oakland Township the next year. Then another dig in New Jersey.
So you're saying your father buried Jimmy-Hoffa?
Yes.
But that tip and dig, like all the others, led to nothing.
If you get that, you got to follow it. You got to do what you can. And as I said, the family, they deserve a closure.
Reality buried under a mountain of silence.
I don't think he will ever be found. I think whoever did it was professional.
One possible reason no one ever found the body, it's gone. The mafia ran a number of funeral homes a short drive from the Macus Red Fox. His body could have easily been taken there and cremated, or taken to Hamtramck.
He also may have been stuffed in that trunk and driven right down to Hamtramck, a 20-minute drive away from the Macus Red Fox in Bloomfield Township, and incinerated. There was an incinerator there that was owned by a couple of brothers who were known to be organized criminals. That incinerator had been used to incinerate people before. This was a known fact. Couple of weeks after July 30th, that place was burned down.
The mystery deepening with every dig. The lack of evidence weighing heavily on the scales of justice. The truth lying somewhere behind the sealed lips of the mob.
He was this old, rough and tumble, bare knuckle brawler union guy. He's almost become, to us, like a cartoon character. But I think, he fought for the rights of his union workers. May have got too close and involved with some organized crime guys, but as I said, he was a colorful guy.
People forget of the real humanity that was involved here. Jimmy-Hoffa had a family. He had children. They miss him still.
I wish somehow we could find out what happened to Jimmy-Hoffa.
Jimmy-Hoffa was both loved and revered, and also understood to be willing to do illegal things. And so I think that it really seemed that the popular opinion was split between, you know, a horrified, we've lost a real champion of the people, what are we going to do now, to looks like he finally got what was coming to him.
Thank you for joining us. This story continues to compel and confound. How could someone so famous, so powerful, simply disappear unless somebody talks and evidence emerges? That answer to what happened to Jimmy-Hoffa will remain buried in American lore.